Brazilian champion, and my FIDE rating is 2618. And I'm here today recording this webinar so that I'm going to talk about tactics in this webinar and how to improve on your tactics. I'm going to show you some really interesting positions that I have seen recently, especially some positions played in the European Championship that is taking place right now. And some of these positions are very fresh. They have been played in the last few days. And it shows the huge importance of improving your calculation and also recognizing tactical things, and how this is very important for players of all levels. So you will see that even in top grandmaster games, this is happening all the time. And then I'm going to try to answer a few questions for you that my students commonly make regarding how to improve on tactics, what should they do, and also some questions, some interesting questions like, okay, when I'm solving an exercise, the author always says, oh, this is why to play and win. So during the game, nobody says this to me. So I can't find it because I'm not searching for it. So this is one of the questions that I want to address during this webinar and many others. And I hope you like it. And I will try to show all my, let's say, my philosophy of training tactics and how I did it during my beginning years until I became a grandmaster. So I'm going straight to the positions that I have selected for you. So I'm going to share my screen here. And okay, let's begin with a game from a very simple game from actually this is from the Russian championship, team championship, and this is a very easy position. I'm not going to make any questions for you regarding this position specifically. I'm going just to show it and say a few things. And for the next one, I'm going to start making some questions, and I will be seeing what are your answers in the chat. And so this is a very simple position, although it happened in a very strong game by Alexander Grishuk playing with the white pieces against a grandmaster named Kirill Alexeyenko. And well, actually in this kind of position, a grandmaster, he looks, and before he is even considering anything about strategy or any abstract consideration, a grandmaster immediately, I would say, with less than 1 second, he notices the main tactical motive and he finds the correct move. And of course, the correct move is, well, some knight to g5. In the game, Grishuk played knight f g5. And why is this so easy for a player of a grandmaster level? And actually, I have selected on purpose an easy position to begin with, because this is a tactical theme that I think most of you, if not all of you, know, which is this checkmate on f7. This is one of the most classical chess tactical themes, and well, since many centuries ago, people already knew this checkmate theme. So of course we know it in other variations, in other ways, but it's the same idea. And this is an important thing regarding your chess calculation improvements, because you don't need to memorize exact positions, but you need to recognize the pattern. And that's how you play chess well. You solve a lot of exercises as you have solved probably in the same theme, and then you will be able to recognize it immediately when the opportunity appears. So that's why this position is easy. Maybe it's not even so much easier than other positions that I'm going to show you today, but this is easier because you know the pattern. You have seen this hundreds of times, the checkmate on f7 with this stalemated king. And so it becomes extremely easy to spot the right solution. Of course, for a player of Alexander Grishuk's caliber, this was very easy. He played it in less than 15 seconds. And then, well, Alexeyenko, in order to avoid being checkmated, he played here rook g7. But then he was simply a piece down after f takes g7 and knight f7, so he resigned. So we started with a very simple example in order to demonstrate you this question of pattern recognition, which is essentially what you need to do in order to calculate well, or at least to spot the right tactical themes quite easily. This next position is one that I really like it. We are seeing it from the black's perspective. So here is black to play. While I am talking, you can already start thinking how you would play in this position. And the most important thing in this position is that you notice that, first of all, white's king is in their straits here. His king is on a2, and this is a monster bishop. This bishop is well known, especially from King's Indian positions, that this bishop is a monster if connected with an attack, especially if the king is a castle on the queen side. Then this is really dangerous, as Garry Kasparov has managed to prove in several occasions. And here we have the connection between two well-known tactical themes. First of all, the demolition of a pawn structure. This is a very well-known tactical theme that you use when you want to get to your opponent's king. Sometimes your opponent's king is protected by some pawns, and you have to destroy this pawn structure. And in order to do that, you need to sacrifice pieces and so destroy this pawn structure. And the other important theme is very, very well known, and it happens in many games. It's the theme of attraction or decoy. I don't know what is the most correct translation for English, but I would call it right now attraction. That is when you attract a piece of your opponent so that you manage to attack another side. For instance, let's say your opponent has a piece defending a key square, so you have to invite this piece or oblige this piece to stop defending this position, and then you make use of that. And so here black managed to make a nice attraction on white's rook. Let's see if we have here any idea. Hello, everyone. Any idea? Okay, here we have a suggestion of rook c5. Okay. Also, rook c3 is being suggested, but okay, rook c3, it's not a good move, in my opinion. Yeah, Stefano is suggesting rook c5. Yeah, because rook c3 doesn't threaten anything. And notice that white is also creating something. He's threatening the pawn on h5, so maybe queen h5 is coming. The correct answer here is actually rook c5. That's correct, because you attract white's rook, or capturing on c5. Actually, he has no other option, because queen takes h5 doesn't make anything. King g8. So if rook takes c5, then rook takes a4, b takes a4, queen takes a4, king b1, and queen a1, check. Checkmate, actually, no? So, but the game is not yet over. And before we continue, I forgot to say that this game was played by one of my favorite chess players, probably one of your favorites too, because people like to see creative and attacking players. And so this game was played by Jobava, a grandmaster from Georgia, very creative grandmaster. He plays really always some uncompromising chess, and his games are always fun to watch. But the curiosity is that Jobava in this example is on the receiving side. He's not the one who played rook c5. He's actually playing white against a grandmaster called Alexei Sarana, and this game was played a few days ago in the European Championship. And it's a curiosity that Jobava is used to attacking, is now losing this game, but not without a fight, because he played first king a3. He also, of course, he didn't want to a straight checkmate with rook takes c5, but this was not enough to defend, because after rook takes a5, king takes b4, the player with the black pieces, he managed to continue attacking and finding ways to put white in trouble. Any ideas here? How to play with black now? We must get into this king, who is still in a actually in a worse position now. And so it's necessary to continue attacking. Okay, so now black played here. Okay, we have a suggestion of bishop c3, but then simply king takes c3, and you don't manage to keep attacking. Yeah, that's right, Simon. The correct move here is queen c6. Of course, we don't care for this rook on a3. Well, in the last webinar I showed this game, and I was thinking how to checkmate after king takes a5. And now I think I found the most correct way, because queen c5, of course, wins, but white plays queen b5. I think the simple way to checkmate is bishop c3 and queen c7. This is checkmating 2 moves. Okay. No real purpose for that, just a curiosity. And now, if white plays king a3, then we continue with the destruction of his pawn structure. Rook takes a4, b takes a4, and then queen c3, king a2, and queen b2 checkmate. Very easy. And the curiosity is that Jobava then played queen c4 in the game, but I believe he resigned without waiting for his opponent's reply. And black would simply, well, of course, Mr. Sarana would find this very easily because he has found more difficult moves, and now he would just have to find rook takes a4, which Jobava didn't wait to see if he would find it, because I think he was sure he would. After b takes a4, queen b6 check, king a3, and then king b2 checkmate. So here we see something that happens very often, which is the combination of tactical themes. You had here the destruction of pawn structure, and we have also the attraction, when you attract your opponent's piece to a wrong square. And this happens in most cases. You are going to combine different tactical themes during a chess position. That's why, first of all, my recommendation is that you study all of them individually first, so that you can recognize each of them separately and fast. And then after that, you start to see positions where they are combined, and then you'll be able to recognize different tactical patterns at the same time. As a curiosity, for speaking of how I trained my tactical ability until achieving my Grandmaster title in 1998 with the age of 18, I would say that from probably age 8 or age 9, when I started to study chess more seriously, I would be studying tactics almost every day. And when I was at home, of course, it was not a holiday or something special. When I was in my training schedule, I would train tactics every single day. And that's what you should do. Training tactics is like when you are making some kind of warm-up. You have to do it, even if it's a small part of your training, but you should do it always. So that's the only way you can improve your tactical skill. By the way, all of these tips, these are given also in a DVD I recorded some time ago when I talked about my chess training philosophy. The idea is to train tactics. Okay, this next game was played in the French Team Championship, and this is a game between the famous French Grandmaster Vachier Lagrave against a player from Hungary. Gledura is his name. And white to play here. This is a more difficult position because the tactical theme is not immediately apparent. So any ideas how you would play with white here? Anyone? Let's see if any of you can spot the main tactical theme here. And while you are thinking, I'm going to speak about some of the elements of the position. And this was the problem with the black pieces is that they are not well coordinated. You see that this knight on e7 is in a strange position. Also this h6 and the pawns on h6 and g5, they are not strong, and they have weakened black's king. But mainly, what I think about this position is a question of harmony. You take a look at white's pieces and their coordination, how they connect together in a good way. You know, there is no single piece that you say, okay, this piece does not coordinate with anything. Maybe you would like to say it about the rook on a3, but this rook is useful playing in the third rank. So maybe this rook can go to the king side. But the same cannot be said by black's position. So black's pieces are somewhat uncoordinated. They don't talk, let's say, talk too much with each other. The bishop on a7 has no meaning with a knight on e7, and the bishop on g6, the pieces are badly placed. So some of you suggested knight takes g5, but this doesn't work because black simply captures the knight. So every time you think about a sacrifice, it's important that you think of how this is going to improve your position, or what are you going to gain? Because if you sacrifice a piece, then you must show something immediate, even if it's not checkmate, but you have to have something. So you need to have a nice move. Yeah, Stefano, you are right again. This is the move. I'm just making a little suspense here. And then also e5 was suggested by some of you. This is a good move. This move has meaning in the position, this e5 move, but it's not the best move. Let's say black could play here knight to d5. It's not the best move because black would still fight. And we had a question here about what is piece coordination. And piece coordination is, well, when the pieces hang on together well, let's say like this. There is no piece that is completely disconnected from the game or from what the position wants. Like, for instance, this knight on e7, it's in the main position. It's completely disconnected in the game. This knight doesn't make anything. Also, the bishop on g6 is somewhat badly placed. The rook on g8, black has several pieces, actually, that do not sum up to anything. So, but the correct answer, and many of you have found it, is knight e5. This is a brilliant move. And the main tactical theme here is the pin. So the idea is after d takes e5 to play bishop takes e5, and then black is just dead lost because of this tactical theme, which is the pin. And you see that tactics in chess are very position specific. So you move this rook from g8 to f8, and black probably would have no problems by playing knight from e to g8, defending the knight on f6. But okay, when you are analyzing tactics, when you are analyzing concrete moves, you take into account not positional elements, but the specifics of the position. And then here black is lost after king g7, then knight g4, and no defense for the attack on f6. So naturally, the player with black pieces didn't take the knight on e5. He played here queen c8, but this was not enough. Now he is just completely positionally lost. So when you are considering a tactical operation, you don't do it simply because you want to checkmate. Sometimes you do it because you need it for improving your position somehow. And after that, black is just completely lost. For instance, if he takes with the knight here, then after knight f5, black is completely busted at this point. And after f takes g6, which was something played then, Vacher played the idea that several of you have suggested with e5, but now black is completely lost. He played knight d7, d5, rook on d6, bishop takes d6, and white won a few moves later. It's just a completely lost position. Okay, so let's move on to our next example so that I can show you. Oh, this is a brilliant example. I really like this position because I like the simplicity behind tactical operations. I like when something is crystal clear in chess. This is something that I really like. And I'm going to talk with you here. This is a game by one of my favorite players also. Of course, when we talk favorite players, most of you are going to think players from the elite or 2,800 players, but sometimes we have favorite players that are not from elite, but simply because they give us some nice games, and this is one of them. This is Grandmaster Emil Sutovsky playing with the white pieces, and he always delivers interesting game, winning or losing, but he always fights, and he always plays some tactical games. And this is a very interesting position. This game was played 5 days ago only in the European Championship. Why to play? Before I explain a little bit about the tactical themes, I would like to hear you guys, your opinions on this position. What do you think White should play? So Jacob was asking if 97 was the last move. Actually, I don't remember. But so what to do now? It's important to understand the main tactical theme. Knight d4 suggested by some of you. Not the best move. Black simply plays queen takes d5 in this case. So, okay, you recognize the theme of the pin, which is important, tactical theme, but don't forget that there is other things. Rook a7 also suggested, but this move also has a problem. Okay, I'm going to say it here. You can calculate without moving the pieces. Then I'm going to show you on the board. The problem with Rook a7 is that Black plays bishop takes d5. And then if you go rook takes e7, probably it was your idea. Then bishop takes e4, rook takes e6, and then bishop takes b1. I take your rook on b1. So otherwise, it would be a nice idea, but there is this tactical refutation. Yeah, some of you have spot the correct idea. But before I mention the correct idea, I want to talk about one tactical theme that is the Desperado. Probably some of you have heard about it. I think most of you have not heard about it. This Desperado, this was one of the favorite tactical themes of famous chess coach Mark Dvoretsky, who unfortunately passed away last year. And Mark would always talk about desperados. And what is a desperado? A desperado is a situation where you and your opponent, you both have pieces of the same value attacked at the same time, usually at the same time. But here in this position, we will have a case of a desperado, but the pieces are not attacked at the same time. But notice that if white captures the black's queen on in e6, then black takes our queen on e4. So what does this say to us? That you should search, you can search in this position for any move with a white queen, including moves like queen takes h7. This is a move that could be analyzed. I was a little surprised that no one suggested this move, even though it's not the best move. But I mean, this is a move that it's interesting from this point of view of a desperado move. You sacrifice your piece, and then you take your opponent's piece, since the piece that you sacrifice cannot be taken anymore. It's already gone. So that's the idea with this tactical theme. Actually, this is not the best. Maybe I think white is still better in this position, but maybe now black can try to survive. I don't know, with bishop d5 or bishop e4 or something, or maybe rook a8. I'm not sure what. No, rook a8 probably not. But black is worse here, but it's still alive. Okay, so we are going to see a different type of desperado. Actually, maybe it's more correct to say that it's the elimination of defense. It is knight c7. It's a wonderful little move that was played in the game. And the idea of this move is after rook takes c7, then you capture the bishop on b7, this bishop that would capture our queen on e4. So now you sacrifice the piece so that you can capture a piece that will take one of your pieces later on. So this is a quite complex tactical operation, even though it's not very difficult. And this simply leads to a huge advantage for white. So black cannot take on b7, so he goes queen d7, rook takes e7, queen takes e7, rook a7, and now black is completely losing here. After queen d8, white could, for instance, simply take the pawn on c4, but he played even better, queen g4. He can go with the queen to e6, the rook to d7. The bishop can go to h6. Maybe there are several tactical opportunities, and then black's completely lost. And I really like this example. I think it's very elegant. Okay, so the next two exercises, they are actually quite easy in my opinion, but they show the importance of knowing typical positions and typical sacrifices. I won't take too much time with these two, but let's see how to play with the white pieces here. What do you think? So one way to improve your tactical ability is to solve a lot of typical sacrifices. So if I say the sacrifice of the bishop on h7, you have probably seen many times this sacrifice. This is a typical sacrifice. When I say a sacrifice of a knight on f7, this has also happened in several occasions. And then when you analyze and you try to see when it works, when it doesn't work, this is a very useful way to improve your tactical ability. Now, in many books, you have already, they have classified this kind of typical exercises, but nowadays, with so many resources that you have, you can search and find very easily typical tactical sacrifices, and this is a nice way also to improve your tactical ability. I knew that you guys will have no problem solving this exercise, because you all know this idea of sacrificing on h6. This is a very common tactical operation, and here it just happens. This is a game by ex-World Cup champion Ruslan Ponomariov against Macieja, grandmaster from Poland. This was played also 5 days ago in the European Championship. So bishop takes h6 was played. Black played bishop takes b3, a takes b3, and then d takes h6, queen takes h6. Then again, I would like to express this idea of, start to talk about this idea of unbalance of forces. And here, you should always see when you sacrifice, this is one hint for already beginning to answer what I mentioned in the beginning of this webinar, that many of my students say to me that sometimes they cannot find a sacrifice in the game or a tactical operation because there is no book, no one saying why to play and win, for instance. And one hint, one tip to make you aware of where there's a position that is ready for a tactical operation is that you should take a look at the unbalance of attack and defense. And here you can see that, okay, white has two pieces ready to go for the attack, but these are two heavy pieces, the queen on h6 and the rook on e1, and black's pieces are completely separated from the king. They are not near the king, and especially the queen, who is a great defender, could be ready to help. For instance, imagine the queen on e7, then the sacrifice would not work, but black would be ready to defend. But the queen is especially badly placed at b6. It cannot go back to the defense, so black is lost because of this. This is one way of getting aware of this, of the possibility of a tactical operation, that is a position where you can win by sacrificing, is when you notice a difference between attacking pieces and defending pieces. This is one of these cases. So black played knight h7, then rook e4, threatening rook g4, and black is dead lost now. If king h8, then simply rook h4. So black played here f5, and then rook takes e6. queen b7, rook to e1, threatening rook e7, then rook c7, rook e8 check, rook takes, king f7, and then queen e6 check, and then black resigned before he was checkmated after king g7, rook g8. So a nice little example on this sacrificing theme. There was one on this exact same subject. This was played recently by two ex-world youth champions, so world junior champions, with white Alexander Ipatov, who now currently plays for Turkey, against Jeffrey Xiong, a young and talented player from the United States. And here we saw the same theme. You know, it's very easy. It's curious that two strong grandmasters allowed the same thing in positions which are not especially difficult. It's not especially hard to spot that bishop takes h6 is simply winning here. And I was curious how such strong players could allow this, because after there is actually a nice question for you guys after g takes h6, queen takes h6. Then while white is coming for attack with all its pieces. Maybe knight g5 could also be played here, but I have another question for you. Let's say white plays queen g5, king h8, queen f6, king g8. And now my question now is, what's the best move for white now? The simplest method, the simplest way of winning, white to play and win in this position. What do you think? Maybe there is actually more than one way. Again, here we will, knight g5 is probably a strong move, but yeah, knight g5, bishop takes h2, king. It's not completely clear still for me, but it's a possibility. But there is some more, maybe bishop d3 also. It's maybe there are more than one move that wins here, but I think the most elegant solution probably is, again, on the theme of attraction, and yeah, some of you have spotted it. Although, as I said, moves like knight g5 or bishop d3 might be winning too, but the best move is rook b5 here. So we take black piece from the best square. After bishop takes b5, then we are ready to go with rook e4 and be ready to checkmate him. So that's a nice solution. But as I said, you don't even need to calculate all this long in order to play bishop takes h6. This actually is a sacrifice that you can almost do it intuitively in the game. The guy played f6, Jeffrey played f6, but then he was just a pawn down. So no matter it's not interesting for us to see the rest of the game. I just wanted to show you this tactical operation. So, and now, ending this part of the webinar where I'm showing you guys some recent examples. This comes from one of my favorite players, David Navara from Czech Republic. You have probably known him. He's also a brilliant chess player, and he always plays aggressive chess. This game was played 3 days ago in the European Champions. And again, I noticed first of all, this was a classical Spanish torture, as we like to say. Yeah, this is a position where some relopes that went wrong for black, because it's clear that black's pieces again are uncoordinated. I want you guys to compare the coordination of black pieces with the coordination of white's pieces. White's pieces are much more useful in the position than black's pieces. And again, I would like to touch upon the subject of noticing when the position is ready for a tactical operation. You can notice that nearly all white's pieces in this position has attacking potential. So, okay, the most obvious ones are these minor pieces. They are all ready to attack. But I would mention also the heavy pieces, because the rook on b1, it's useful on this b file. The rook on e1 maybe help white with the advance of the pawn to e6, and the queen is very flexible. It can go to g4, it can go to d3, and white can attack using all these pieces. So with all this said, someone has an attacking idea for white here, or can make a suggestion of a move white to play in this position? Yeah, many ideas here. I was sure that interesting attacking ideas would be suggested in this position. Some of them probably I didn't analyze it, but let's check it. For instance, we have suggestion here of e6, knight takes h7, knight h5, knight f5. This is also an important concept in chess, which is the concept of candidate moves. There are positions, there are some positions that you see a move, you already know which move is winning. If you just have the trouble of finding this move, but after you find it, you know it's very easy. But there are some positions that you have so many promising moves that sometimes it's difficult to find which one is better. So okay, let's analyze a little bit some of you guys' suggestions. So for instance, we have this e6 suggested in this position. This looks like quite a strong move, actually. So let's see what black is going to do against it. Probably, I guess, black is going to take. Well, black has to take. There is no other option. But then it was suggested knight takes h7. I'm not sure about this move, because after king takes, I don't think you can checkmate me here, because my knight is going to f6. So it's not very clear. I wouldn't go for it. But I'm not very sure why not simply knight takes e6 here. This also can... This looks pretty tempting. Although, well, maybe black has to sacrifice the exchange here. Or maybe queen f6, but then bishop g5. Probably black is going to sacrifice the exchange. Or maybe, yeah, queen f6 the computer likes, I think. Then bishop g5. Well, and I guess queen f7. Or maybe queen takes e6. This is also a possibility. Sacrificing the queen. Should be losing, right? Probably, but there are some possibilities. Although queen f7 might still give some chances here for defending. It's also a tempting move. So, well, as I said, many ideas are interesting here for white. But I think what Navara played was the best. He went for knight f5, sacrificing and completely destroying black's position by now, because this is black is completely busted here. He has no pieces to defend so much attack. So in the game, he played knight c5, but, well, first let's analyze g takes f5, which was the natural defense. Then white would play queen h5, and everything is threatened. h7, f7, f5, so everything is attacked by now, and black is in a lost situation. For instance, let's say he plays, I don't know, queen e7. Let's say he plays h6, then queen takes f7, king h8, and queen takes f5, and then it's a mating attack with the bishop on c2 and the queen on f5, no defense. So in the game, Svetushkin was playing black, played knight c5, and then, well, now here, actually, there are several moves that can win this game. I mean, many, probably knight d6. I mean, knight takes g7. Many moves are possible, but Navara, I think, played the most elegant. He played e6, sacrificing a pawn. He leaving the knight on f5, but of course, if he takes, then e takes f7. And the idea is, after black takes on e6, for instance, with the knight, and just exchange everything. And now, thanks to this sacrifice, white can play queen takes d4 check. And the position is winning. So that was a nice example, and all these examples, they were seen in recent games. And now I will ask for you guys permission to show you a few games of mine also with this idea of tactical themes. As I said before, some time ago I recorded a complete course on how to improve on tactics, and I showed some interesting games there. I'm going to show you some examples that I mentioned in this DVDs. I'm not going to show you the very easy ones. I want to show you especially actually some positions, but I would like to start by showing you guys my game with none other than Anatoly Karpov the Great. Of course, this game is special for me, and so I'd like to, since we don't have too much time till the end of this webinar, I would like to show you what is a good memory for me regarding the result, although the memory, considering the strength of my moves, is not so brilliant. But anyway, I'm going to make you guys a question in this position. This is in my game against Karpov. It's important to say that this was a rapid game. It was not an official game. It was a rapid game played in São Paulo in 2004. And I'm slightly better with the white pieces at this moment, but black is pretty solid. So if I make a move like Queen B8 in this position, combining maybe ideas of playing Rook C8 with ideas of playing moves like Queen E5 maybe, or Queen F4, or sometime G4 and start attacking here, it's clear that white is pressing, and white would have good chances for a win. But at this moment, I spotted a tactical opportunity with Rook takes F6 in this position. And I remember I didn't have much time for calculation. Maybe 3 minutes I had to the end of this game, with very little time left. And I had to take this difficult decision: should white take on F6 and try to make an immediate win, or I should play a move like Queen B8 in this position? So I'm asking you guys, how would you play here? Do you think Rook takes F6 is a good move or not? That's my question. So I see that a few of you guys are really interested in taking an F6. Some no. As I said, this was a real special moment in my career, playing against one of the best chess players ever. I was a young player by then. And then I had to decide, with the great Anatoly Karpov staring at me, if I would try to make a masterpiece, a brilliancy, or if I would play solid chess and play a move like Queen D8. Well, I think by now, most of you believe Rook takes F6 is a good move. I think, yeah. Okay, maybe. Yeah, let's aim for the masterpiece, right? Let's see if it's a good idea to aim for a masterpiece against the next world champion. I played Rook takes F6. I could not control myself. Okay, when I was younger, I really was a more impulsive player, and I would take this kind of bold actions. But of course, this is not a question of character, but of calculation. If you spot this tactical opportunity and then you calculate and you think it's winning, you should do it, no matter against whom. And okay, the idea looks pretty good. And if Queen takes F6, then white plays Queen takes D7, and it's simply winning a piece. And after King takes F6, Queen H8 check. Then if King E6, Queen E5, it's checkmate. So black plays King F5. And then G4 check. king f4, and now queen takes h6. We start this king hunting. g5, and now h takes g5. And this was what I calculated when I played rook takes f6. If black plays here, queen takes g5, which is actually maybe the only defending attempt, then white goes queen h2, checkmate. And this was what I calculated, and actually this gave me my 1-1 win against such a strong player, because Karpov went straight for this line. He played king takes f6, and the game actually finished after h takes g5. And here he resigned. Okay, so this is a really nice moment for me when I remember this part of the game. But I'm a little embarrassed, because after rook takes f6, black has actually 2 different refutations for this move. And okay, I have noticed from the chat here that some of you have seen the refutation already. Yeah, so yeah, after rook takes f6, black to play now, and how can we refute? And now this is again an important tactical motive that is well, intermediate moves. It's one of the most well-known tactical themes. So black has actually 2 different intermediate moves, and so it's actually hard to answer why I didn't see this, and especially why Karpov didn't see this. And only the nervous tension of time trouble, or, well, these kind of things can explain, because black has 2 different defense here. One is rook c7, the other is rook d8. And both these moves will leave black with the advantage. Actually, after, for instance, rook d8, I would have to sacrifice my rook, make a desperado here, like, I don't know, rook takes f7 or rook takes g6, and try to play this position with an exchange down, and then black would be pressing all the time. And so the evaluation of the position would change from clearly better for white to clearly better for black. So it's obvious that rook takes f6 is a bad move, of course, because it changed the evaluation of the game. But, well, what can I say? Sometimes it's difficult to find the correct solution in chess, and in this game, I must admit, in the end, I was just pretty lucky. And then I had this win against Karpov. And then to finish, just one last example on the question of pattern recognition. I told you guys, it's the most important thing when you train calculation, is that do not memorize things. So in chess, memorization is only important in 2 things, in my opinion. In openings, if you are a very strong player, okay? Because if you are a very strong player, 26 or above, or maybe 2650, then you really have to remember many opening variations, not to get caught, and so on. But if you are a 22, 2300 players, it's not so important to remember all the lines. You really should understand chess better, understand your openings. So this is not a good thing. It's not the most important thing. It's not memorized. It's important to memorize endgame positions. But in the middle game, there is absolutely nothing to memorize. You have just to solve a lot of exercises and be able to recognize patterns. That's how you improve your chess overall, because that's how you improve on the part of chess that matters most for most players. It's the middle game. And here, it's the tactical theme, it's a good example that you have to solve many exercises in order to recognize patterns very quickly. So with all this that I said, I'm sure that you guys on the chat have already spotted long time ago the correct move. Yes, I was not wrong. All of you have spotted the correct move. Actually, you see, I have just played knight g5 in this position. Our opponent had the pawn on h7, and he was somewhat unaware of the move h6. I was playing white in this of the move king h8, and there is a curious thing that I would like to notice, you guys. This game was played in the final of the Brazilian Championship 2011, when I became champion for the first time. I have just played knight g5, and so my opponent had other moves, but he played h6, and I played here queen h8, king takes h8, knight f7, king g7, and then knight takes d6, and this is just a completely winning. Maybe most of you should know this, that knight endings are the most similar that we have to pawn endgames, in the sense that usually if you have a pawn up in a knight endgame, you are going to win. This is not the same case in rook endgames or queen endgames, for instance, but in knight endgames, if you are a pawn up with pawns on both sides of the board, then you are winning 90% of the cases. So here it was just an easy win. But the curiosity I'd like to talk about this question of pattern recognition and also knowing the classics is that while I played pieces in this game, it was a Brazilian player with Armenian descendant, or should I say ascendants. So his name is Krikor Mechitarian. His parents are from Armenia, all his family from Armenia, and actually he should know better because many years before that, in 1966, in the famous game of his countryman Petrosian, he's probably the idol of his country, the same pattern had already been shown. That's why it was so easy for me to spot it during the game. And that's curious because it's a game from Petrosian, and the player named Mechitarian forgot about it. And then this, of course, the famous game from the first match, Petrosian-Spassky, which was won by Petrosian. This was played in 1966. Spassky would take the crown for Petrosian a few years later. And this famous game finished with exactly the same pattern. Although it's not the same position, it's exactly the same pattern. That is queen h8, and black must simply resign right now. It's just losing a piece. So it's the same thing, just with a little different spice, let's say it. And that's the same idea. So that's how you train tactics. You should be aware of the main patterns, and you should solve a lot of exercises. By the way, going further, I would say this is not the only way, only the way of training tactics, but this is the way of training chess in general. You think about something, you think with your own head, you do some analytical exercise, you solve exercise, you think about it, and then you improve on this pattern. This is easier with the tactical themes because they are easier to recognize, but it's the same thing when we talk about positional, for instance, playing positions with isolated pawns or some typical pawn structure. So you think about it, you recognize some ideas, and then you are able to use it. That's why some grandmasters are so strong even in blitz games, because they recognize patterns very easy. So the way of studying chess is like this. The way not to study chess is to get a book and then simply start to see it. So this is that's it for now. That's the end for. Thanks. I'm now here to say goodbye for you guys. That's the end of the webinar for now. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it was useful. And don't forget to check then this DVD course I made on calculation. I think it's going to be very useful for your chess. Thanks a lot. See you next time.